My name's Dan Corcoran. I'm a farmer from Pike County, Ohio. I've been farming for about 35 years, full time. Grew up on a farm in Ross County. I started farming as a small kid with my dad, just doing things on the farm every day. I'd get home from school, we'd have chores to do. Went to college to Ohio State, graduated, and then went to work for Country Mark Co-op over in Western Ohio. And that's where I met my wife, Donna. Donna and I have 4 children, Hannah, Brooke, Zach, and Jordan. They all graduated from the Ohio State University, and we're very fortunate they all live local, within 5 miles of us, and we have 9, soon to be 12 grandchildren. Been here for 35 years. We're currently on the Brown farm, as we call it. Have operated this farm for 30 years. 34 years, actually. Worked for a gentleman called Madeira Brown, who owned the property. His daughters took over the farm and gave us the opportunity to purchase it. For farming side, we grow corn, soybeans, wheat, and popcorn. Also have a brood cow herd of about 200 cows and have a feedlot that we do mostly custom beef out of. But I had the opportunity, I was asked by my brothers, Tim and Pat, and my dad at the time, if I was interested in farming, and I said, well, yes, I am. So the opportunity arose. Don and I got married, and the next week we moved here. That's how we got here. Once I decided it's what I wanted to do full time, I purchased 25% of the farm. As it's set up, I do the agronomy side. Dennis is doing the marketing. Tim does a lot of the landlord stuff, works with them, and also insurance stuff. And then Greg is the cattle guy. But when spring comes or fall comes, we're all planters and harvesters, and if somebody needs help with something, we meet every Monday morning on a phone call and say, what's our priority this week? We want to treat everybody's farm as if we owned it. So we take care of it with the best of our abilities, using the best management practices, finding new ways to be more efficient. We put together a no-till planner 34 years ago, I would guess. It was a 20-inch row, 60-foot bar. With a lot of assistance, we took a Bauer bar and put on these 20-inch rows, and haven't looked back since. I've liked everything that no-till's done for us. Our biggest challenge, as I like to tell people, is that we farm on a lot of sandy ground. So drought is our worst enemy. And we wanted to find ways to retain moisture. So narrow rows and no-till came first to our operation. We actually went back to 30-inch rows because of equipment concerns after about 15 years of 20-inch rows. We started into cover crops about 10 years ago because I wanted to see this soil stay around, and I wanted to see if we could build up organic matter. And that was the mission we started. Really like what that has done to our operation. What it does to that soil for us is make a fantastic seed bed. And the soil feels like it has life. We've gone through the growing pains that everybody starts out with cover crops has. We've learned how not to terminate them, and we've learned that you can plant too thick unless you have to have multiple options on what to do with this cover crop so it doesn't become a pain all the time. We have gotten to the point where we're all very comfortable with planting into it green now, so we don't burn off any cover crop anymore ahead of time. Shortly after, we'll roll or crimper it, we'll do lots of things to it, but it's an ongoing practice that we like and hope to continue. We are into the regenerative side of this agriculture. We like what it's doing. We'd like to introduce a little more animal involvement in these cover crops. I see all this cover crop come spring, and I love it. But there's also a point to where you say, man, I could be using some of that through livestock and getting what I really want, maybe a little bit faster.
Probably my most vivid memory of Dan, I met his brothers first. There was a whole farming operation, and they started growing potatoes for another company. And that's when I really got to know Dan, because I was interested in growing potatoes. We have not done that in the area before. And so, but my first impression of Dan was that he was willing to share his knowledge with anybody. And one of the things that I find so I don't know, it bothers me to a certain extent, is some of our larger farmers almost treat what they do on their farm as proprietary knowledge. And they don't want their neighbors to know because they feel that what they're doing gives them a competitive advantage. Where Dan was totally the opposite. He's willing to share everything he's learned, the good, the bad, the ugly. He invited a group of extension educators to his farm to talk about cover crops. And we stood out in the field and here's what we're doing, here's why, here's what we think we're gaining out of it. And so he was very open and willing to share his knowledge. And I think that's what impressed me the most about Dan. He's always willing for whatever idea I came up with as an educator of, hey, you want to try this on your farm, see if you can make any more money? And he was always willing to do so. And I think that's what makes him a great fit for this award. Dan just does not like to have the limelight shined on him. He's very behind the scenes, very quiet, but he's very willing to step up and do the work. I mean, it goes with his faith, it goes with his church, it goes with his community. If you need something done, Dan will step up and do the work, but he never wants recognition for it. And I think this is a fitting honor for Dan.
The fact that it's another day. We can't dwell on something that we didn't have much control over. We did, to the best of our ability, put out the crop that has treated us very well in the past. Knowing that, you know what, I'm fortunate to do what I do. And hopefully some of that's going to rub off on, maybe it's my children, maybe it's my grandchildren, that somebody wants to take it over. And if not, there is a lot of young, able-bodied farmers out there. Our perspective changes, but we also have a younger gentleman, my nephew Greg, with us. He has a different view, and we're not afraid to say, hey, you think we can make a go of it? We'll try it. And if the next crop comes around and we think it's an opportunity, we're going to try it. We're not afraid to try different things.